Welcome back to Tousi TV. This is your global news channel. I'm Tousi, and surprise, surprise, the Islamic Republic have begged through the Arab countries, a number of Arab countries near the Persian Gulf, to get the United States to resume the talks after the chaos and ups and downs that we had over the last few hours. The United States are still skeptical about these talks, regardless of what could happen on Friday. The Israeli Defense Forces are having an emergency meeting tomorrow morning, and the IDF have now been put on high alert in preparations of for potential preemptive attack by the IRGC in the coming hours or days or whenever. Now, if you did see our live stream, obviously a few hours ago, a couple of hours ago, then you are aware that the talks collapsed temporarily because the Islamic Republic representatives walked away, mostly because the Americans are not moving away from their four strong demands and red lines. The Islamic Republic said, we only want to discuss nuclear, only in a limited way and indirectly, so not talking directly to Steve Witkoff, the US negotiator. Now, the talks are going to happen apparently on Friday, but it's still not the main talks because the Americans are not moving away from their red lines. So nothing is going to get done regardless. Let me give you guys the summary of what happened over the last 2 hours or so. So the plans for the talks, which were supposed to be in Turkey, then the IRGC asked to move them to Oman. That's now happened. Erdogan is a little bit upset because of that. Nobody cares if Erdogan is upset. The talks are now going to happen apparently again after several Arab countries lobbied President Trump over the last few hours to get back to the table. Now, the issue with this is that US officials are skeptical. One of them said from the White House, they asked us to keep the meeting and listen to what the Islamic Republic have to say. We have told the Arabs that we will do the meeting if they insist, but we are very skeptical. Another official from DC said that at least 9 countries from the region, so the Arab countries, passed on messages to the most senior levels of the Trump administration and on a very high level in terms of the areas of diplomacy, strongly asking that the president doesn't cancel the meeting, considering that it wasn't President Trump who cancelled the meeting for Friday, it was Abbas Araghchi and the Islamic Republic, and we're going to get back to Araghchi, the foreign minister of the Islamic Republic of Iran. But a second US official has also said that the administration agreed to take the meeting with the Islamic Republic just to be respectful of the request of the US allies, so the Persian Gulf Arab countries. Now, this is kind of fascinating because, again, this is sort of like the game of chicken, because neither side want to be seen that it was their fault that the talks collapsed. When the Islamic Republic walked away earlier, the whole blame went on to Tehran. So Khamenei didn't like it. He said, well, we can't let this happen because we just made ourselves a target. What did you do, Abbas Araghchi? This is why the foreign minister's response, after it was confirmed that apparently they will be meeting on Friday anyway, but again, the talks on Friday are meaningless. He said, nuclear talks, right? Not the overall talks or negotiations, just nuclear. Nuclear talks with the United States are scheduled to be held in Muscat on about 10 a.m. Friday. I'm grateful to our Omani brothers for making all necessary arrangements. If you read this carefully, he doesn't say the talks are back or being resumed. This sort of post could have been made this morning or last night or whenever, right? Because it just says the talks are scheduled Friday, basically implying as planned. Nothing has changed. Nothing really happened earlier. Everything is fine because they don't want to be seen that they were the ones who walked away. But the message from Tehran was via the Arab countries, and it was fascinating that the White House decided to leak that information and diplomatically betray the apparently 9 Persian Gulf Arab countries who begged the United States to talk. Now, I don't think there was any need to beg the White House because it wasn't the White House that walked away, it was Abbas Araghchi. The White House continued to say, we can talk, but we have 4 demands. Would you like to talk about that? Abbas Araghchi is not going to talk about any of that. And they're not going to be talking directly, so there is absolutely no point in even meeting on Friday. This is why the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps continue their threats regardless of whatever could happen on Friday. They said, we are now prepared to attack by launching up to 500 Khaybar ballistic missiles at Israel. The Khaybar missiles reportedly has apparently about 2,000 kilometers range, carries a 1.5 ton warhead, and it is believed to support multiple or split warhead as well. Now, because of that, the Israelis are not taking any chances, just in case, because they know that Friday might still not happen, but even if it happens, it's not going to get anywhere, because you got 2 different sides who want to talk about 2 different things, and not even directly. It's a waste of time. So, Prime Minister Netanyahu has now called for an emergency security cabinet meeting that will be held at this point in the next 6 hours. Yeah, 6-7 hours. And they will be discussing all potential possibilities and scenarios. The Israeli Defense Forces and Eyal Zamir have both warned the IRGC not to do anything stupid, but also they have prepared their troops on the ground for their defense capabilities to protect the state of Israel. Now, all eyes are currently on Netanyahu and the Israeli Defense Forces because they could be the ones that could take the blame in a good way for any attack on the Islamic Republic, because they can say this is self-defense. The IRGC are threatening us. We are getting intel that they could be coming any moment, because they know that their talks with the US is not going to get anywhere. So President Trump could just sit back, allow the Israelis to hit first, just like what happened during the 12-day war. Or perhaps we might see a different scenario where the US will basically, again, push and force Abbas Araghchi and the IRGC diplomats to the corner on Friday, and even after that, they will have no choice but to walk away. They will have no choice, the IRGC, to either hit the Americans and the Israelis, which is again, a very stupid idea. I don't think they would, or just basically start to threaten the United States, and then President Trump will have a legitimate reason to go in first. Over the last hour, Vice President J.D. Vance has been interviewed by Megyn Kelly, and he mentioned a couple of things about Iran. He's done his homework quite well, J.D. Vance. First, he said Iran is a weird country because the president is a puppet, is meaningless. It's the supreme leader who calls the shots, but we as Americans, we don't even have direct access to the supreme leader. We can't pick up the phone to talk to him. Watch this.
By the way, Megyn, one thing I would say about the Iranians that is just really weird to me, and I don't understand their system, and I frankly think that it makes diplomacy with them extraordinarily difficult, is the person who makes the decisions in Iran is the supreme leader. Okay, the president, our sense is, doesn't have a lot of juice, doesn't really matter. The foreign minister seems to talk to the supreme leader, and that's mainly the person that we've communicated with, but it's a very weird country to conduct diplomacy with when you can't even talk to the person who's in charge of the country. That makes all of this much more complicated, and it makes the whole situation much more absurd. Like, he can pick up the phone and call Putin. He can pick up the phone and call Xi. Even countries that we have very hostile relations with, he can pick up the phone. You know, North Korea. He met the guy at the 38th parallel. It is bizarre that we can't just talk to the actual leadership of a country. It makes diplomacy very, very difficult.
But that is the whole point of the structure in Iran. The whole point is to have pseudo-diplomacy so that you have technically a president and a foreign minister, but you're not actually getting anything done when it comes to international diplomacy because the supreme leader calls the shots. So they are not necessarily like North Korea. It's not closed to the world, but it's basically North Korea because the person in charge is not going to talk to anybody outside. J.D. Vance also said that President Trump continues to push for diplomacy, but military action is still an option if he ultimately chooses to use it.
It's so funny. Sometimes you have people who are saying, well, the president's too belligerent. And then sometimes you have people who say, well, the president, he's talking about diplomacy and he's talking about negotiating with the Iranians. We shouldn't negotiate. We should just bomb them. What the president's going to do is he's going to keep his options open. He's going to talk to everybody. He's going to try to accomplish what he can through non-military means. And if he feels like the military is the only option, then he's ultimately going to choose that option. I can't, I'm not, obviously, even if I knew what we were going to do, I would not tell you and your many millions of listeners.
The interesting thing is, he unintentionally basically explained the reason without saying it. You got the isolationists, and you got the warmongers, and you got the paranoid people. So there are different groups who usually attack Trump. One group thinks that President Trump is some sort of warmonger. The liberals think, oh, well, Trump's going to start World War III. And then you got the other people who say that President Trump is a full-on isolationist, right? But in reality, or should be a full-on isolationist. In reality, obviously, President Trump is not actually thinking about diplomacy because he knows nothing could get done with the Islamic Republic. But he has to do that. I mean, he doesn't have to, but this is the choice by the White House and the administration to be seen to be doing the right thing first, and then ultimately saying we had no other option. As opposed to, for example, Iraq in 2003, where it seemed like, well, we don't really care about the other options. We're just going to go bomb Saddam Hussein, right? So because of all that nonsense, the administration is playing this weird game of mind games and waiting, and nobody can guess. Because again, as I said, the isolationists are terrified, saying he's a warmonger, he's going to attack. Those who want President Trump to attack, they are paranoid, saying he's selling out, he's basically not going to attack. And then the other groups also think, basically nobody can guess. You speak to different type of people, depending on how they see Trump, they're going to tell you completely different scenarios. That Trump is definitely going to attack, Trump is definitely not going to attack, he's going to sell out. And then each group think that they are 100% right. Each group think that they are the experts of what's going on in Trump's mind. Oh, I know definitely Trump is a chicken. Oh, I know definitely Trump is basically Hitler. Oh, I know definitely Trump is Xi Jinping at this point. I mean, nobody can guess until he decides to do it anyway, because we've seen different scenarios. But J.D. Vance also mentioned that if the Islamic Republic do get nuclear weapons, the problem with that is that the next day, who do you think is going to get nuclear weapons? Saudi Arabia. That's just going to make things even more complicated.
And it's not just them, because if the Iranians get a nuclear weapon, you know who gets a nuclear weapon like the next day? The Saudi Arabians, and then somebody else in the Gulf Arab state. And so you have nuclear proliferation on a global scale. The biggest threat to security in the world is a lot of people having nuclear weapons. So what the president has said is Iran's not going to get a nuclear weapon. We're going to work with China and Russia and any country, whether they're friend or whether we're a little more competitive, to try to draw down the amount of nuclear weapons that exist in the world. I think that's the most important thing you could do for peace and stability.
I mean, that, to be fair, that is a good point about if the Islamic Republic do get nuclear, which they won't, because this is not really the main issue. This is just excuses. This is just distraction to say, yeah, let's talk about nuclear. It's not really a threat anymore, considering the spotlight. But hypothetically, if the IRGC get nuclear, obviously Saudi Arabia wants it to, UAE wants it to, and everybody wants it. So that's not going to happen regardless. But he did also mention, J.D. Vance, about the Iranian people taking control of their own country and having a normal government. Let's see what you have to say.
I mean, you tell me whether this is about nuclear weapons right now or not, but what we're seeing in Iran is these protests on the street, not as much anymore because they've been killing a lot of the protesters, but it's, should we go in there and help the protesters get rid of this regime, like get rid of the Ayatollah, which, let's face it, it's much different in Iran. The regime goes well beyond the Ayatollah. It's not like Venezuela where you take out Maduro. It's a lot more complex. Even if we got rid of the Ayatollah, there'd be a whole bunch of others just like him, part of the regime. And so the last thing most Americans want to hear is what we heard in Venezuela, which is now we're running Iran.
Yeah. The president is very aware of all this stuff, Megan, but I'll tell you, protests, counter-regime. I mean, look, in a perfect world, would I love it if a bunch of freedom-loving Iranians, who, by the way, are amazing, they're brave people. If you know anything about the Persian people, they're like an incredible group of human beings. If they took over their own country and had a government that was much more friendly to the United States of America, would that be a good thing? Absolutely, that would be a good thing. But fundamentally, what the president has always been focused on, even with this most recent round of protests, you saw, I think his most recent truth, or at least one of the more recent communications he made about Iran, it's nuclear weapons base. We are still focused on this question of ensuring they don't get a nuclear weapon. And here's the good thing, because of what happened last summer, I feel 100% confident that even if the Iranians were rushing towards a nuclear weapon, they couldn't get one during the Trump administration.
Yeah.
But we're not worried about the next 3 years, we're worried about the next 30 years. We have
Again, he basically said it. By the way, they've sent him to just buy some time and just basically somebody has to answer some questions, right? And the administration don't want to tell you what the plan is anyway. And but somebody has to say something. So the president keeps repeating the same line. And J.D. Vance is obviously now saying this. Marco Rubio saying it in his way, which has been spot on, by the way, Marco Rubio. You have also this guy in the live chat saying 100% agree. Let the administration and military professionals manage this situation. Armchair generals should sit down and breathe. Hashtag go Team America. Whatever happens, the President Trump will do what is best for America. Now that is a guarantee. Now he's not going to be betraying America and the Americans. And that is his job, to ensure that he's doing things in the interest of America. And of course, the Islamic Republic is the enemy of the United States. He's not going to allow the IRGC to continue to be a threat. That is a stupid thing to do. Having said that, we also have a statement from the Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi, the leader of the opposition, whose team are actually working really hard behind the scenes. There's going to be a massive number of rallies on the 14th of February, 10 days from now, in, I think, LA, London, Toronto, and Munich. Now, we are planning to go to Munich. That's going to be huge. And that's going to be massively linked to the global movement in terms of the media attention. But beforehand, we have a statement from the Crown Prince, which I can now read. To my brave compatriots in Iran, our magnificent national revolution, the Lion and Sun Revolution, is an unparalleled epic of solidarity, empathy, and national unity. Contrary to the efforts of the Islamic Republic and its accomplices to sow division and derail our movement, you have remained vigilant and patriotic. And with one voice throughout Iran, you have shouted that you are one great united nation under one flag. You have shown that regardless of which city or province we come from, which dialect or language we speak, what religion or beliefs we have or do not have, we are all Iranian and determined to reclaim our beloved homeland. You have courageously taken to the streets across Iran, let me emphasize, across all of Iran, under a hail of bullets, declaring what you do not want and crying out for what you do want. Your bravery has shaken the foundations of this occupying regime. Your voice has awakened the world. Your sacrifice and devotion will not be in vain. Iran will be free. And to all those who wish to join us on this path, I say, hear the voices, a voice of Iran's great and united nation. The Lion and Sun Revolution welcomes all who accept these four principles: preserving Iran's territorial integrity, individual freedoms, and the equality of all citizens before the law, a secular democracy based on the separation of religion and the state, and the people's right to freely choose their form of government. Once more, I honor with respect, sorrow, and deep anger the everlasting memory of our beloved and brave fallen women and men who gave their lives for our homeland. Let their loved ones be assured that the prosecution and punishment of those who ordered and carried out this massacre and the realization of justice are certain. Today, as we stand more united than ever and closer to freedom and democracy, I pledge to safeguard your trust and our unity with all I have. Together, we will reclaim and rebuild Iran. Long live Iran, Reza Pahlavi. Now, that was the latest statement by the Crown Prince. Yes, I was right. Yeah. So the protests, the rallies, Saturday, 14th of February will be Toronto, LA, and Munich. I think I can also put the information on the screen for you guys in case you are in one of those places and would like to join us. And I'm going to get some reaction quickly as well, if I could. What is happening? Yeah, okay. These are the official locations for the global rallies that we're going to have on the 14th. So Toronto, Munich, Los Angeles, and of course, cities across the world in general. Every weekend we have massive protests everywhere. About 14th of February, if you are near one of these cities, get yourself down there. And it's going to be the biggest international, loud and proactive and robust symbol that everywhere, everybody is calling for the same thing. The death of the Islamic occupation of Iran and the return of democracy to the land of Aryans. Now, let me quickly get some quick reactions from you guys as well while we're here. Where is the live chat? The next promo code should be hair. Don't dare me. I will do it. It will be an inside joke for those who are new to the channel will have no idea why. The people of Iran have spoken. Any deal keeping the IRGC in power would be sentencing Iranians to their death. Trump needs to proceed forward. The IRGC cannot be trusted. There is no negotiations or deal about IRGC staying in power. So this is not what the negotiations are about. And President Trump and the White House have subtly, very, very obviously clarified this is not a survival deal. It's not even close to what happened in 2015 with Obama, because it's a completely different scenario. These are fake negotiations and a fake deal. Let them talk. It doesn't matter, because technically both sides need to buy some time anyway. And it doesn't matter, because with or without American intervention, the regime is falling regardless. It's just about accelerating the plans. Daniel says, good evening. We didn't do it. Can't prove it. It wasn't us. Daniel from IDF. I wish to have the level of imagination of the IRGC. They believe they won the 12-day war. Crazy. Yeah, but it's fine, because they know they didn't. It's like Pakistan when they got destroyed by India, and somehow they were like celebrating. I mean, it makes no sense, but let them have their fun. It doesn't matter. But only talks only with the IRGC defectors. Agree. Bets only talks. What do you mean bets only talks? Bets only talks only. There are two onlys in the sentence. I don't know what the sentence is, but something about well, should we negotiate with the IRGC defect? The problem is that where are they? So we're still waiting for those who said that they've defected, but they haven't made their moves yet. There have been some who publicly did it. The diplomats. We had a couple recently. We don't know about the rest yet. Don't know what Tousi TV is, Tusi. That's not our channel, but it's okay. Tousi TV reporting has been spot on. Talks on again, off again. You called it. Yeah, I mean, I did say, even in the previous report, I said they're going to come back. Let them talk. Let them go through this charade, this circus of theater, and it's just nonsense. Curious if you think that an Iran national army will show up for the people. When the time's right, as I said, they have no other option, because their job and their duty is to the Iranian people, not the supreme leader. It's different to the IRGC. But they need the opportunity to do it. And as every single day, the regime gets weaker and weaker. And even at this point, even a couple of airstrikes will just completely annihilate the structure of the regime. But you still do need a serious military action to bring it down. Having said that, you just leave it a bit longer and the regime will just crumble. And then you're going to need the armed forces to come out to finish the job. World politics now done in Munich, not Berlin. Yeah, although something else was started in Munich, the early 30s. Why is President Trump, VP J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Rubio not inviting Reza Pahlavi to visit the White House or Trump's house in Mar-a-Lago? That already happened 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago. I don't know, 2 weeks ago. That already happened with Mar-a-Lago. So that has already been done. Make Iran great again, Javed Shah. Brilliant. What is going on here? Getting messages from our team. What am I doing? It's Tousi TV reporter Niak Borbani. We also have for Munich, in case I'm not good enough for you to sell the event, I've been told to say that Emily Schrader from Israel and Youssef Haddad will also be there. In case I wasn't convincing enough, come for them. We're going to have Israeli speakers and others as well. They're not gonna speak apparently. Yeah, they're just gonna be there. If you want to hang out with Emily Schrader and Youssef Haddad instead of me, then love your channel. I'm a member and would love to be able to watch on my Roku TV. So if you, both YouTube, but also if you join Tousi TV Plus, which you are a member, as you said, if you use it on the app, not the browser, not the web browser, the app, download the app. And when you go on the videos, if you play a video, you can cast it on your Roku TV as well. But we will soon actually introduce a standalone app, Tousi TV app, on Apple TV, Amazon Fire Stick, the Google thingy, and Roku as well. But that's going to take a while. For now, you can actually still use it, but you have to go on the app first and then cast on your smart TVs. Friday, February 14th is Valentine's Day. Gary, man up. You can multitask. It's technically my first Valentine's Day as a married man, and I'm taking the wife to the rally. That is the most romantic thing you could do on Valentine's Day. Don't blame me, blame the stupid people at the Munich security conference people. So I didn't organize it. But yeah, what else could be romantic? A protest for free Iran. That's proper romance. And if you're single, it's also a good place to be because there's a lot of good-looking people you could meet. There's a lot of good-looking Iranians you could meet. Why the woke cities? You do realize all cities are woke, right? That's the nature of cities, urban areas. I trust IRGC more than Democrats US, and in LA is under swine presently by Newscom and illegals. The thing is, LA and California is the home of millions and millions of Iranians. But they went there before LA collapsed. They moved there back in the 70s and 80s. So, but yeah, there's a huge group in LA. There's a huge group in Canada, Toronto. And Munich is just going to be the main hub for all the European Iranians. They can just go to Munich. Well, I understand your hope for Iran and for a free Iran. This proposed war with Iran will be ugly. I pray for the people of Iran. There's no proposed war. There is a war right now. There's an ongoing war. And based on the estimate, between 70,000 to 100,000 people have already been murdered. So the war is already ongoing. There's no new war that's been started. There's a one-sided war, and the Iranian people simply want to be able to defend themselves because right now they're just getting killed. Why hasn't the Artesh done anything? It's the same question as before. I'm also waiting, don't worry. Tousi TV to have typhoons heading back after hours in the west of Wales. They must have heard you were going live. Yeah, they're just getting the intel from Tousi TV now. This has to end. I can't take this nonsense anymore. Peru is on your side. Thank you, Maria, from Peru. Yeehaw. Tempt Khamenei out with oats and hay. It's not going to work. We're not in Montana. Yes, the Austrians started Munich, I know. However, I blame the art school in Vienna who rejected him. True. had they let him paint, the world would be different. Also, all the kids in school who bullied him for being a vegetarian. This is why, I do make fun of vegans sometimes. Not all vegans. Some of my best friends are vegan. One. Yeah, you make fun of them too much, then they might just become a dictator. So it's a bit of a lose-lose situation. It's like with some lovely ginger people. You bully them and they become jihadis. Don't bully. Bullying is bad. I can bully. It's my job. But the rest of you guys, you can't bully. Now, show what is happening here. Oh, yes. This is... how do I do this? Hang on. I need to show you guys something. It's falling apart. There we go. Okay, so, yeah, in case you want to know what is actually happening in the land of Aryans right now, for those who think that everything is peaceful and people are happy and living their lives, and there are those of us who are saying we should have a random war, starting a random war in Iran. Nobody is saying you should start a war in Iran. We're saying there is a war in Iran. Let's finish the war so people could go back to their normal lives. That's the situation in Iran. There's an actual war. The problem with this war, compared to Ukraine and Russia, for example, is that in this war, one side are not armed and are defenseless and have been getting killed every single day. And technically every single day since 1979 on a slower pace, but over the last few weeks, much, much faster. Anyway, we're going to keep an eye on this situation and the so-called talks on Friday. And Tousi TV will continue to be your geopolitical news from around the world. Tomorrow, keep your eye on this channel because Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, might be going. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Tousi, and we are the media.